Sci-Fi.
Isn't that a little outside your remit, Doc?
I thought I'd broaden my horizons.
And I'm fully here for it.
Have you ever wondered which is the oldest sci-fi story on record? So, how long do you think humanity has dabbled in the genre?
I would wager pretty much since they started making up stories. I mean, look at all the creation myths.
I'd label those more as fantasy than science fiction, Patrick.
How do you see the difference?
Well, I see sci-fi as, for instance, being based on an extrapolation of current tech, or involved other worlds, or aliens, that kind of stuff.
But magic and godlike powers?
More along the lines of fantasy.
What about Q or Trelane? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Arthur C. Clarke, 1973.
Nice one, and very true. Admittedly, the line between fantasy and sci-fi is a grey one, but as an example, for me, I'd say Gulliver's Travels is more fantasy than it is sci-fi.
Okay, agreed. So now we just need to find the oldest sci-fi story? I'd say it's Metropolis. You really think there were no sci-fi stories before the 1927 movie? It was a pretty major event. But that does not mean it was the first one, Commander.
I'll grant you that movie was pretty spectacular and influential for its day. But even if you were limiting your focus to the moving image,
that's pretty much all I know.
Then you left out the most famous 1902's A Trip to the Moon by George Méliès.
Le Voyage dans la Lune, a 14-minute epic where a group of French scientists and explorers create a giant cannon and shoot themselves onto the moon where they encounter strange vegetation and aliens.
That's all well and good, guys, but sci-fi didn't spring into existence with the advent of motion pictures.
But...
Well, yes, McClock. The written word has been around for far longer than movies, and it is where we'll find the oldest sci-fi story we have a record of.
H.G. Wells?
Wells was a contemporary to Méliès, so influential though his stories were, they won't send us too far back in time.
Perhaps, but The War of the Worlds was pretty monumental. Especially when Orson Welles, no relation, narrated a now infamous radio play of it in 1938, where it said some listeners actually thought the US was being invaded by Martians. The humans, they can be so very gullible.
The original story was published in 1898. Not that long ago when you think about it.
He also wrote The Time Machine, right? Where an English gentleman from the 19th century travels to the far future and encounters the Eloi and the Murlocs. Love that movie.
That movie adaptation was from 1960, Commander, and the book itself was from 1895, so we're not going back in time that far.
What about Jules Verne then? What about him? He is the one who wrote From the Earth to the Moon, the literary work that had inspired the movie masterpiece of Méliès we already spoke of.
That's a good one, Patrick, but we're still in the late 19th century. That book was published in 1865.
There was a lot of sci-fi being published around that period.
A lot of which was very influential and are still loved to this day, like Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, written around 1870.
Or Journey to the Center of the Earth.
That one was from 1864, but I'd label it more as fantasy rather than sci-fi.
Is that the gray area you were talking about?
Hardly grey, McClock. There's no advanced tech, no aliens, no travel to other worlds, just adventurers potholing deeper than anyone had potholed before.
And encountered dinosaurs and whatnot.
Proving my point, this is more a work of fantasy, but can you really not think of an older work of sci-fi?
Frankenstein!
The reanimation of dead tissue, definitely a sci-fi trope.
Which inspired so many movies to boot. The story of how Mary Shelley came to write that story is a story in and of itself as well.
It is, and Dr. Frankenstein's monster is well known to most. It was published in 1818, earlier than both Verne and Wells, but still stubbornly remaining in the 19th century.
Voltaire!
Care to extrapolate?
Well, if Jules Verne managed to imagine further, it was by standing on the shoulders of giants. Nice appropriation of Isaac Newton's quote there, monkey boy. You'll see. It will make sense.
Are you referring to Micromegas?
Micromegas, oui, as written by Voltaire.
Which would take us back to the middle of the 18th century.
Never heard of it. It is the story of a giant who lives on a planet orbiting Sirius, and he stands 38.9 kilometers tall. That's mighty specific. Voltaire was French, so, you know. Hence your giant quote. Exactly. He travels the stars using gravity to learn and educate himself. he arrives on Saturn to befriend the secretary of the Academy of Saturn, and together they explore Earth, where they end up having philosophical discussions with some human philosophers who themselves had been exploring the Arctic Circle.
Pretty much ticks all the boxes, Patrick.
These giants try to communicate with the humans, first by creating a magnifying glass so they can see them, then some kind of hearing aid so they can hear them, and then they realize these tiny little beings are intelligent and capable of reason.
A pretty intricate story.
It was mostly a vehicle for exploring the various philosophies of Descartes, Aristotle, Leibniz, and others. The French love to discuss philosophies. That they do.
Using concepts to explore the human condition is a very sci-fi-y thing to do as well.
So, is that the oldest one? Do I win?
It's not about winning or losing, Patrick. It's about the journey our exploration takes us on. And no, you did not win.
What do you mean?
The Man in the Moon!
Sacre bleu!
What do you mean, Gigi?
That's just how naive people refer to the moon's various craters that look like a face, if you squint.
No! I'm talking about the story from the 17th century. What? I read? Gigi's right. The Man in the Moon was written by Francis Godwin. In it, an exiled Spaniard learns to harness the power of some birds native to an island he's marooned on to first transport provisions and later himself. He accidentally travels to the moon to avoid some cannon fire where he encounters a utopian society. I like that one of the ways the society is a utopia is because they banish the unruly offsprings to Earth, which also explains why Earth is in such a mess.
And always has been.
Sadly, though, that Spaniard longed to go home and leaves the moon but accidentally lands in China and is imprisoned. I don't think he ever did come home.
Just like Dr. Sam Beckett.
This is a great example, Gigi, and you'll notice a recurring theme with the moon being the target for adventure, which often ends up teeming with wild and unusual life.
Except for Jules Verne's story.
Yeah, his was more grounded in reality, but such stories have been repeated over time for millennia.
Millennia? Just how far back are we going, Doc?
How about as far back as the 2nd century AD?
What?
That far back? Yep. Humans have dabbled with science fiction for a very long time, and the earliest record we have is A True Story by Lucien of Samosata.
Interesting title.
He was a bit of a satirist. Think Jonathan Swift in a toga. The reason this story came to be is because Lucien was becoming increasingly frustrated by a popular style of writing at the time, the travelogue. Essentially, people would go to distant lands and on their return publish an account of what they'd seen to the delight of many.
Seems this is still pretty popular today. Anybody seen Somebody Feed Phil?
Oh, I love that show, although it did become a tad repetitive over time. And that's probably what the ancient Greeks thought too. Over time, those travelogues became embellished with incredible, fantastical stories, which the authors assured the readers were true, even though most, if not all, knew they weren't. So Lucien wrote A True Story in response to that, creating an absurdly fantastical adventure while making sure his readers were fully aware that every word of it was a lie.
Interesting honesty.
Indeed, and in this story, Lucien and a group of intrepid adventurers sail beyond the Pillars of Hercules and eventually find themselves on the moon.
Again. Except for Voltaire.
Yeah, the French dude was more ambitious. Which is inhabited with wild alien life forms.
Again.
And our human explorers end up taking part in an intergalactic war between the moon and the sun.
Well, that is different.
Lucien takes time to describe the various species he encountered in great detail, explaining, for instance, that there were no women on the moon. The younger males have children, which come out of their leg, and then, as they age, they become, well, I guess, proper males?
And who said trans people were a recent thing?
He also describes a technology that allows the people of the moon to check what each person is doing on Earth.
Shades of 1984?
It's made to sound like it's a cool thing. And there's even what could be viewed as a precursor to bodily enhancements. The moon people don't wear their eyes all the time. They take them off at will, and they even lend them to others who haven't got their own or have misplaced them or something.
It's already a hard thing finding your keys. Imagine looking for your eyes.
Glasses?
How prescient of Lucien.
So we finally reached our destination. A true story is the oldest known sci-fi story ever recorded, and it's around 1800 years old.
I must say, I'm pretty impressed. I didn't know most of these stories.
Nor I. I am as astounded as Zen.
Just think about this though. Humans as a species are roughly 300,000 years old. The earliest known piece of writing is less than 5,500 years old. Think of all the stories that have been lost because they either weren't ever recorded, or the scrolls, tablets, papyri, what have you, were lost to time. What we have is amazing, and finding an 1800-year-old sci-fi story is astounding. But just imagine all we have lost forever. Anyway, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, and we'll explore more of the universe next time.